Injuries was a massive part of it because, to me, next season we can win the quadruple. People might laugh because
quadruple.
Absolutely, listen. And the reason why I say that is because for Leicester to win the league, that means anything can happen. You know, but the thing is, yeah, he has
Speak with any football fan whose team has lost 10 on a bounce. They have a game coming up against their champions-elect, and I guarantee you that that football fan will be full of self-belief that their team is going to come on top 1-0. These are the ridiculous levels of optimism exuded by football fans. Almost nowhere is this passion for football and the unwavering loyalty from the fans more evident than the northeast of England, and more particular, Newcastle United, who have had more than their fair share of the highs and lows of football. We're talking relegations, promotions, and also title tilts, which they were genuine contenders on their Kevin Keegan, and also were actually quite competitive on their Sir Bobby Robson. All of a sudden, they find themselves being linked with the likes of Jadon Sancho and Paul Pogba. Well, they've just become the richest club in the world. If you think these signings are totally unrealistic and financial fair play is going to come to the rescue, think again. Well, we need to talk about Newcastle United.
If we do something, we have to have a project, we have to show ambition, and we have to show that really we want to be a top side in the Premier League.
Newcastle now, of course, the news that just came out today about it being close to that takeover. I say, all the Newcastle faithful, could we be the new Manchester City? You know, we've seen Chelsea kind of do it, Manchester United have money.
Now, you have said, I think publicly, you would like it to be the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world at some point, and you'd like it to get to $1 trillion.
$2 trillion.
$2 trillion.
Yes.
You calling me a liar? So what are you calling me?
You called me a liar.
Well, your report was wrong. Why can't you list it? Well, there you are, then you are. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
The saying, a week is a long time in football, couldn't apply more in any other week, as Newcastle United have simply stormed the financial charts and climbed all the way to the top. Don't get me wrong, the world of football is used to its fair share of financial takeovers by billionaires, but a grenade has just been thrown in the top table of European football. A consortium led by Amanda Stevely and backed by the Saudi Arabian Sovereign Wealth Fund are on the verge of completing a £300 million buyout of current owner Mike Ash. If the takeover is sanctioned by the Premier League, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, chaired by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, will acquire 80% stake in the club, while Amanda Stevely's PCP Capital Group, as well as the Reuben brothers, David and Simon, will split the remaining stake equally. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Another billionaire buys a Premier League club, big deal. And the second thing you're probably thinking is, even if they do buy it, financial fair play is there to protect Europeans' top table from receiving this grenade. Well, you'd be wrong on both occasions, and here's why. Due to the crisis, which I can't name here on YouTube, but it's got that name over there on the screen, as well as the fallout, which is expected to cause one of the biggest financial crises in living memory. UEFA have had high-level talks about either postponing or suspending financial fair play altogether. I've been critical of UEFA in the past, but in fairness, this time around, they actually have no choice, and here's why. Due to that crisis I mentioned earlier, football clubs have been hit hard financially. Talk is increasingly becoming reality, as football clubs will not be allowed to hold capacity events up until 2, possibly 3 years. So here's the timeline for Premier League clubs that we know so far. Football clubs will be allowed to continue and complete the rest of the current season, with all games being played behind closed doors up until the end of the season. At the start of next season, if things continue to go favourably and according to plan, there are rumours to be able to introduce fans of up to 300 depending on capacity as well as distancing that can be provided by each individual stadium. This means that clubs are already looking into refunding season tickets as well as corporate hospitality for the rest of this season, and are also preparing themselves for next season's bloodbath, in which season tickets and corporate hospitalities might just be cancelled or brought to an absolute minimum, as distancing needs to also be a focus of football clubs. Matchday revenue, although it's been dwarfed by how much Premier League clubs have been earning in TV rights over the last few seasons, still remains a significant part and lifeline financial stability of every single Premier League club. Matchday income doesn't just comprise of just season tickets, but also memorabilia, food at the concession stands, corporate hospitality, as well as any replica or memories that are sold to fans when they show up during match day. And we should also remember sponsorships as well. Quick glance at a list of Europe's top 12 clubs' performances when it comes to match day revenue paints a better picture of this. I'm going to take a look closely and examine how number 1 on the list as well as number 11 on the list will be affected by this. Best way to do this is to have a look at a ratio of match day income as a proportion of overall turnover. Now, in the 18-19 season, Barcelona had a pretty good year as they overtook their Spanish rivals Real Madrid, with the latter actually making 864 million, some with a difference of more than 95 million, and indeed the highest ever since the 23-year history of when records began. Sale of Cristiano Ronaldo to Juventus having a net decrease for Real Madrid and a net increase for Juventus as they make their money lists for the first time in the last few years. So, let's talk about these match day revenue percentages. For Barcelona, it's 18%, meaning that 18% of all revenue streams that Barcelona get comes from match day activities. And when we have a look at Arsenal, that even rises higher. For Arsenal, it's almost 25%. So for Arsenal, it means a quarter of all finances that is raised by Arsenal Football Club in the last financial year came from match day related activities. So you can imagine what the impact of games being played behind closed doors, as well as corporate hospitality and other match day activities being limited to an absolute minimum, will have big clubs, which brings us to the reason why clubs have spent a good deal of their time and effort trying to negotiate player wage cuts with senior pros, as well as actually looking for blanketed pay cuts that will go all the way through the entire club. Let's not forget these things as well.
Shame on you, Mesut Ozil. Shame on you. So let me get this straight. Some of the younger players on far less money than you are taking a 12.5% pay cut, a minuscule drop in the ocean for you. And you don't want to do it because you want to see how the financial situation plays out while you're sitting on your backside on your PlayStation every night rather than actually playing football. Really? Now, I've reserved my condemnation for football clubs who've been furloughing using taxpayer money when they've got plenty of money themselves. Liverpool, Newcastle, Tottenham, all got shamed into doing U-turns on this kind of thing. The players, I felt, were getting a bad rap. This is why some of them deserve a bad rap. People like Mesut Ozil, who've just said no. No. I may be the highest paid player at Arsenal. I might be one of the highest paid players in the world. I might be worth gazillions, and I might be sitting on my backside at the moment doing nothing. But no, I'm not going to take a pay cut.
Well, the less said about people out there trying to shame professional players, the better, in my opinion. Newcastle United, the richest club in the world, and also state-owned. Where have we seen a state-owned club before? Oh, yeah, that's right. Paris Saint-Germain. At least the fact that a club is actually owned by a state, we can expect them to act very, very classy. Well, that's not the case as well. Newcastle United players, take note. I could easily speak about Mohammed bin Salman and the Saudi regime, a regime accused of putting on sporting events and a bid to distract the world from some of their other activities. But as this is not a political channel, I will not be getting into this. But what is more important for all football fans to know is the fact that over the last few years, Saudi Arabia and Qatar have been involved in some pretty bitter trade wars, which means the Qatar-owned Paris Saint-Germain and now the Saudi-owned Newcastle United might be going to war on various players, and expect some of the bidding to get pretty nasty, as well as also the Saudis and Newcastle actually going out there with intent to prove a point against the Qatar region. Leaves us with the possibility of proxy wars being fought through the transfer market with no financial fair play, whereas the rest of the elite clubs in Europe lick their wounds and try to get themselves more financially secured after that incident which we spoke about earlier. Yes, a grenade has been let off in the top-tier pyramid of European football. One thing that is absolutely certain is that once the dust settles, game of musical chairs currently being played by the top clubs in England to qualify for those 4 spots to make the Champions League will certainly have an extra club dancing around hoping to sit down in one of those 4 spaces. Great news if you're a Newcastle United supporter, but maybe not so great news if you don't support Newcastle United. Witnessing the birth of the next super rich club after Manchester City, and with certainty an influx of top talent from all across Europe and England arriving on the gates of Tyneside. That's it, it's been your boy MJ, and until next time.